Madam Presiding Officer, tourism is an important sector in Tobago's economic landscape, and for the short to medium term, it is expected to continue to play that role. Madam Presiding Officer, our borders have now been reopened. We are learning to live with COVID-19 and actively preparing for the resumed inflow of visitors. We must rebuild our tourism sector and regain lost momentum. Therefore, in fiscal 2023, this administration intends to make the required investments in order to take specific steps to begin unlocking and deploying the underutilized development potential of the tourism sector. However, as you are well aware, Madam Presiding Officer, we do not have sufficient high-end rooms to sustain an economically viable tourism industry. That we agree with. The preliminary estimates suggest that we need at least 5,000 high-end rooms to build a viable tourism sector in Tobago. That does not necessarily mean Sandals. Currently, this shortfall is about 2,500 rooms. Madam Presiding Officer, I am happy to announce that we have had preliminary discussions with two major investors. Yes. Collectively, these two investors will result in the direct injection of approximately 1.5 billion in the Tobago economy, should they materialize. Both investments are likely to add about 850 rooms in the next 3 years. One of these investments relates to the tricky Rocky Point Hotel development. This project started in the most troubling manner, but we are attempting to responsibly manage this project in the interest of all Tobagonians. When we got into office, the developers reached out and indicated that they had not had a formal conversation with the THA prior. It is unbelievable that a tourism-related project, a fifth scheduled item of that magnitude, was planned for Tobago without Tobago's leadership input. I mean, they plan it, and the Chief Secretary just sit down like a mumu and clap. Oh. After learning of these developments, we did the responsible thing and invited the principals to Tobago to tour the land and to meet with the stakeholders. It is the expressed intention of my administration to monitor and work closely with the developers to ensure that all the concerns that were raised are addressed to the satisfaction of all stakeholders. We are at this moment awaiting final designs and plans commensurate with those concerns. All things being equal, Madam Presiding Officer, indications are that during the construction phase, these two investments will provide approximately 1,050 jobs for young Tobagonians and approximately 425 full-time jobs upon commissioning and full operation. Madam Presiding Officer, we are exploring and evaluating a development model where the value of concessions and the land provided to any developer are exchanged for shares or equity in a holding company. This is a model we intend to pursue, where development projects in Tobago require concessions from the THE. As it relates to the troubling Mantle Lodge and Sanctuary Resort, it's only troubling projects they had, but as it relates to the troubling Mantle Lodge and Sanctuary Resort, this administration is actively pursuing the divestment option in relation to these properties, which were purchased by our predecessors in 2014 for $32 million, and which continue to attract millions of dollars in expenditure annually. Further, Madam Presiding Officer, this administration will establish a tourism cross-sectoral committee. The committee will provide guidance and take action on matters impacting tourism development, which are outside of the direct purview of the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation and its supporting companies. It is my understanding that a similar committee was operational several years ago. This initiative is rooted in the recognition of the gaps in addressing several issues which impact tourism, not the least of which are our visitor safety. not the least of which our visitor safety, beautification of downtown Scarborough and open spaces, management of sites and attractions, service delivery across the industry, air and seaport facilities, health protocols, and other cross-sectoral issues. Madam Presiding Officer, other initiatives we intend to undertake will include, but not be limited to, the following: an aggressive strategic marketing campaign aimed at revitalizing the domestic and international arrivals, strategic partnership with tourism stakeholders in pursuit of several green initiatives that will make Tobago the ideal green, sustainable, hospitable, relaxing, warm, and therapeutic place for vacationers, upgrade of existing public and community awareness initiatives that highlight economic opportunities for residents, the provision of financial and technical resources through the Tobago Tourism Agency to enable the adaptation of digital technologies such as websites, booking engines, and property management systems integrated with channel managers to improve business processes, and the provision of financial and technical assistance to assist businesses to undertake appropriate organizational changes and the transformation of business activities, processes, and competencies models. Madam Presiding Officer, as previously mentioned, Tobago is service-driven and tourism-led. For an economy such as ours to be buoyant, it will require predictable, sufficient, and reliant air and sea transport. At my last check last night, Madam Presiding Officer, the paltry offerings by Caribbean Airlines of 12 flights daily are sold out till after Tobago Carnival in October and even beyond. And while this is so, hotel and guest house capacity remains at max 50% bookings. The excuse I was given is that it is costly to keep the A&R Robinson Airport open till the usual 1:30 a.m. in the morning. In other words, it is too costly to keep the Tobago Airport open till 1:30 a.m. while the Trinidad Airport is open 24 hours per day. I have checked with the Airports Authority and discovered that the cost to keep the airport open till 2 a.m. daily will cost only $16,800 per day. Somebody in the central government thinks it is too costly to pay $16,800 per day to keep the Tobago Airport open for this economy to get moving again. Madam Presiding Officer, we propose to foot the bill from our airlift support resources to keep the Tobago Airport open till 1:30 a.m.
Yeah, we're fixing that.
After all, air and seaports are part of the remit of the 5th schedule.
Right.
This is a clear signal from this administration that we do not just want autonomy, but we are ready for the responsibility. Caribbean Airlines will now have no excuses. The movement of Caribbean Airlines between the both islands is an essential service, and it is the duty of the central government to fund such an operation. Therefore, I am using this platform to say to Caribbean Airlines, please return to full capacity. Madam Presiding Officer, the gains from the targeted investments will be considerable. The tourism business establishments will become more efficient, which will free up time and resources to focus on strategic tasks. Business incomes and savings will grow as the gap closes between enticing a potential visitor and closing a sale. New jobs will be created as the sector develops, and altogether, Tobago will experience a rising standard of living.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Presiding Officer, the creative economy, also called the orange economy, comprises designs and visual arts, tourism and cultural heritage, new media and software, performing arts, music, and literary arts, and publications. The most recent estimates by United Nations Conference on Trade and Development suggest that if the orange economy globally is seen as a single country, it will be the fourth largest economy, currently worth $4.29 trillion, and the ninth largest economy, currently worth and the ninth largest exporter of goods and services at $646 billion, and it will have the fourth largest labor force of 144 million workers. Madam Presiding Officer, we inherited a poorly maintained and underdeveloped Shore Park complex, along with the newly formed Tobago Performing Arts Company, and we immediately set out to bring some structure to the space. We got the air conditioning fixed after all this while. Wow. So now the space is usable. We supported with THA resources the adventures of the Performing Arts Academy as it's this administration's intent to explore opportunities in the orange economy. The possibilities for the orange economy was brought to the fore by the overwhelming response of one of TPAC's signature productions, the Bitter Cassava. The production was well received in both Tobago and Trinidad, and the THA sponsored that and paid for that adventure, might I add. Over the next fiscal year, we propose through the Shore Park Complex and TPAC to undertake the following initiatives. Provide technical support to primary and secondary schools in Tobago for visual arts and performing arts or VAPA programs. Provide technical support to the various communities to enhance the quality of their heritage productions. Host a festival of the arts called Malay to showcase local plays and local cultural talents. Embark on a marketing campaign to take Bitter Cassava production to regional and international audiences. Provide technical support aimed at making the Tobago Carnival a distinctly Tobagonian product, blending the cultural nuances of Tobago with a contemporary carnival flair. Build out all performance and training spaces at Shore Park Complex include, among other things, a recording studio, a green room, LED room, dance studios, small theaters, meeting and conference rooms, etc. Explore film-making opportunities. Have a dedicated team that will market Tobago as a filmmaker's paradise. Create documentaries, soaps, sitcoms, children content, public education content, and creative advertisements for the promotion of Tobago, among others. Bring world-renowned experts in the performing and visual arts to take up residency at the facility to promote the training of our young people. Transformation of Shore Park Complex as an academic facility where tertiary level institutions can offer their degree programs. This will be part of our development of education for export. And within the next month, the Departments of Culture and Antiquities will be resident at the Shore Park Complex. Finally, Tobago's most expensive development project is being put to good use. Moreover, Madam Presiding Officer, the Tobago Festival Commission will be mandated to offer to visitors some of their signature heritage festival events, including goat and crab races throughout the year. Further, the Commission, along with the Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, will oversee the introduction of a food and wine festival in 2023. Relatedly, the Department of Culture will establish a steel pan academy in Tobago and will include the making and tuning of pans and also classes in playing the steel pan. Madam Presiding Officer, this administration has decided to establish Antiquities Unit to more effectively use our archaeological artifacts as part of our tourism product. In fiscal 2023, the Antiquities Department will rehabilitate and refurbish various historical sites, inclusive of the Speyside Water Wheel, the Roxburgh Cocoa House, and the Cano Bay Sugar Mills, among others, to more formally integrate them into the island's tourism product. The department will also develop an antiquities registry system that will more accurately keep check of our cultural and historical assets. Given that Tobago has had a more storied past than most other Caribbean territories, there is an urgent need to have an assembly bill sent down to Parliament, to have legislation enacted to protect the island's artifacts. We have a few indiscriminate and inconsiderate citizens pilfering and trading artifacts from across the island. Individuals have stolen artifacts from state lands and private holdings and have taken these artifacts into their homes and even exported a few. Some have harvested the artifacts and sold them as scrap iron. Others have repositioned artifacts in their own yards and used artifacts such as large copper pots once used to boil sugarcane juice to plant flowers and adorn themselves, thereby robbing the population of access to part of their history. We will also explore having archaeologists and university students participate in controlled and authorized digs. In the long run, Tobago will have to invest in a climate control facility and appropriate spaces to house artifacts and historical records on the island.